Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexa, and in this presentation, I'll be explaining briefly what makes up cyber attacks and what cybersecurity measures enterprises need to enforce to act on time once such threats occur. The presentation will cover 5 main components that make up a cyber attack: the methods cybercriminals use today, and finally, what can enterprises do to help increase their defenses through cybersecurity. The 5 components that make up cyber attacks are the attacker, the victim, the target, which is either the information system or the data that exists within it, the method, and finally the intent or motivation behind it. Let's start briefly about each component. The attackers. Attackers can either be individuals or organizations. Most of the time, attackers go to great extents to stay anonymous, and determining who they are might require in-depth analysis and digital forensics. The victim. The victim can either be an individual or an organization, and most of the time their identity is always known or made public. This in turn helps security professionals know more about them, understand their background and relationships in order to find the connection to the attacker. The target. The target, however, one might think is the victim, but it's normally the technical system or the data in that system. This depends on whether the victim is an individual or an organization, since attackers need to research and develop methods to attack the exact target. The method. This is where the actual attack occurs. It consists of all the stages required by the attacker in either gaining entry to the network or gaining access to an endpoint device or a system to extract or delete data. How does all this come together? Through the intent or the motivation, and sometimes determining the goals and the larger strategy behind the attack is the most difficult component to interpret. One needs to understand the motivation. Are they selling the data? Are they monitoring activities? Is this a way to compromise the information system? Figuring out this component is the difference between shutting down the attacker or waiting for another attack to happen. Now, let me explain the 8 different methods that cybercriminals use today. Let's start with malware. Malware, a Trojan or virus with malicious piece of code that can steal data or destroy something on the computer. Phishing emails. They're usually from third parties asking users to click on a link and provide personal data. This attack has become so sophisticated over the past years. Password attacks. This is when a third party tries to get access to information systems by breaking into the user's password. Distributed denial of services, or DDoS. This mainly affects the network and creates traffic and connection requests so that the network becomes overloaded and then cannot function properly. Man-in-the-middle attack. As the name says it, this happens when an online communication is taking place between an endpoint device, such as your mobile phone, and a third-party application like your bank. The man in the middle impersonates the third party, your bank, to you, and impersonates you to the third party to gain access to all the sensitive information exchanged online. Drive-by downloads. This is a malware placed on a website where the program is downloaded on the user's system just by accessing the website and without the user knowing. Maladvertising. This compromises the system with a code that is downloaded when the user clicks an infected ad. Rogue software. These are malwares that pretend to be a software that can protect the user's system, so the user simply downloads them. So what can enterprises do today to protect their systems and the data using cybersecurity? Plus, they have to think about the IoT devices or the Internet of Things devices. As more and more of these devices go online, cyber criminals hijack them to bring down websites. So enterprises should really think about their security. Data theft and financial data leaks are becoming more and more common. Enterprises need to improve their security policies. So as with web apps, there are so many attacks on web apps and ransomware. Enterprises should cover all their weak links before they get locked out of their system or blackmailed to get their own personal data back. Passwords as well can be compromised, whether they're stolen or forgotten. Enterprises need to think about biometric sensors to protect their data and their employees. For websites, using HTTPS protocols to ensure safe web content, and maybe avoid using Flash or plugins because these are an easy target for malware attacks. Lastly, raising employee awareness and training against downloads and phishing emails. Most valuable data of an enterprise resides with its employees. Finally, enterprises must be prepared and think about hiring cybersecurity experts. Thank you all for watching the video.